Start. Tēnā koutou katoa. I tēnā ahihai ka eke mi ngā ki te ererangi me ngā iwi tribal nations o raua Arrow FM 92.7. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the Novus is here trying to do his thing because Clint can't make it, but can only get better at this. I'm here with my wife, Linda. I'm representing tribal nations, and what we're doing is talking about mental health and our upcoming ride on the 27th of October, which is less than 4 weeks away. So just to let everyone know, the Tribal Nations is holding a run on the 27th, a bike run, and hopefully we'll have quite a few bikes going for a ride from Featherston through to Masterton, and also hot rods are coming in. It's all to raise funds for King Street Artworks so they can do something special for their clients. Now I'd like to introduce you to my good wife, who is the studio manager at King Street Artworks, Linda Tilliard. Kia ora, Linda.
Kia ora, Darcy. It's nice to be here again, and we did have a guest speaker, but it's down to us again, and so we thought we might look a little bit more in depth at what King Street does and stands for. And did you want to go to a music track now?
Yeah, we could, I suppose. What do you have in mind?
Oh, well, the first pick was George Ezra was Budapest.
Yep. Okay. Before we get started here, I'm just getting these volumes right, so bear with me. George Ezra, Budapest.
My house in Budapest, my hidden treasure chest, golden grand piano, my beauty focused EOU. I'd leave it all. My acres of land I've achieved. It may be hard for you to stop and believe, but for you, I'd leave it all. Oh, for you, I'd leave it all. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you owe me, then all of this will go away. My many artifacts, the list goes on. If you just say the words, I'll up and run. Oh, to you, I'd leave it all. Oh, to you, I'd leave it all. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you owe me, then all of this will go away. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you owe me, then all of this will go away. My friends and family, they don't understand. They fear they'll lose so much if you take my hand. But for you, I'd lose it all. Oh, for you, I'd lose it all. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you owe me, then all of this will go away. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you owe me, then all of this will go away. My house in Budapest, my hidden treasure chest, golden grand piano, my beautiful Castillo. Ooh, I'd leave it all. Oh, for you, I'd leave it all.
Well, we're back again. Okay, we're going to start this with why tribal nations does what it does, okay? We're rats. We ride against teenage suicide and mental health. So we raise money anywhere we can across the muti, and we like it. That's how we roll. So this year, this October on the 27th, we've got a big shindig happening 12 o'clock onwards at the Farriers car park, and we're going to be raising money for King Street Artworks. So without further ado, I'll give you back to Linda, and she's going to tell you about the history of King Street Artworks and the mental health. Kia ora, Linda.
Thanks, Das. Yeah, we went to the music quite quickly just so that we could check that we had it all working. So just looking a little bit more in depth at King Street and the history of King Street first up. So I'll sort of be fairly brief going on through it, but about 26 years ago, Vincent's was started in Wellington when a mental health nurse noticed that people were leaving the hospital out of it after a period of crisis, and there wasn't a lot of aftercare support, and she ended up having a number of people in her garage and was quite arty, and so started doing art with them. And then Vincent's was set up in Wellington with MSD funding, Ministry of Social Development funding to start with. Their funding came under a little bit of crisis, and they weren't sure if it was going to carry on, but they were offered funding to start an outreach program, and luckily they chose an area of Wellington called the Wairarapa in Masterton, and so we were born, and that was just over 20 years ago. So we started up originally at 21 King Street, where the music place was for a while, and now is the Mix. No, it's not the Mix.
The Hub.
The Hub. I was thinking of the Mix in Lower Hutt, which is just down the road from the Lower Hutt Women's Centre. Quite similar places. And now we're in 16 Queen Street in Masterton, opposite Con Art and Aratoi, and between the bowling club and the dive shop. So that was a bit of a history about who we are and how we started. And I first got to King Street about 20 years ago, and it was quite a different place then. In many ways, similar philosophy. But we've adapted and we've changed a little bit over those 20 years. So that's a little bit of the background history.
Oh, great. So what's the philosophy of King Street Artworks?
Basically, the philosophy is self-empowerment and health and well-being, and particularly focused on mental health, but mental health kind of carries through to everything, so we work in quite a holistic way, or a very holistic way. So we look at how mind, body, spirit, everything goes together, and we focus on art to give people a bit of a rest and to re-identify and re-look at who they are. So as soon as they come in the door, all the muddle they might feel they're in, or disempowerment they feel, or running around doing things for other people, that stops, and they become an artist who's part of loving community of artists, and they start to focus on expressing themselves and maybe finding a little bit of order in the chaos. We have an open door policy too, so it's not just people who are referred or feel like they have a mental health challenge at the time. It's anybody and everybody, and that's why it works so well, because there's a very varied cross section of people.
I remember 20 years ago when I started there. I think I was the first Māori tutor there, and I didn't know much about King Street Artworks or mental health or what they're all about. So I went in there blind, actually. But when I looked at the resume, like the job situations, vacant job, it was Māori tutor for King Street Artworks, and it sort of vaguely said something about mental health. But I knew that King Street Artworks was just starting up at that time. I think it had been going for a couple of years, and they needed to put a Māori tutor in there because at least 50% of them in there were Māori. So I come fresh off the block, if you like, into a position that I sort of fell into. Well, I didn't fall into it. I had a lot of support from my whānau. We had to sit in this room in Kahununu office, and I had about a good 10 people looking directly at me and saying, what's your kaupapa? Why do you think you should be with King Street Artworks? And who's your tribe, all these things. And at that time, Rangatani and Kahununu, they both were, like separate identities, trying to identify with themselves, if you like, being the Wairarapa. And so it was a real scary time, and I had to answer those questions from the heart. I couldn't just look at a piece of paper like I'd just been doing now to do a pepeha. I had to speak from the heart, and like now Mike's gone, who owns it, like who runs this place, is gone. It's just my wife and I here. I'm actually opening up, so I feel a bit better. So over the years, I think I worked there for about 7 years, and in that time I taught King Street, not just the Māori there, but all colours, races and creed, how to make a net out of flax, how to do these fish traps, and we had people like Francis McNally coming in and doing kawawo and pukaia. We done the putatara. There was a really exciting time in those times once we went with it. And the good thing about it is these people at King Street Artworks, these people that go there, no way would have they got that anywhere else, so we made King Street Artworks special, and that was 20 years ago. And when I left there, actually I met my wife there, and we got married after that. She's a sculptor and a painter. In fact, anything she puts her hands to, she's good. Quite envious, actually. But that's how we met, and we married each other. But we still love our arts. And as far as I know, when I left, their kaupapa has still been going. Some of the same tutors are still there, and they're still teaching. Up to how many is it, Linda? How many now go to that place?
On our books there'll be 200. Some days we have up to 70 people there, between 50, or say 40 and 70 on a day. They're not all there necessarily at once. They come in and out, yeah. So quite a busy workshop. It's cool, very, very cool.
I reckon. And I reckon, you tutors are cool too. You got to pat yourselves on the back for all that work you do. So, okay, we're talking about King Street and what the kaupapa there, and what everyone does, whether it is Māori arts or just the arts. I know they can do ceramics, pottery, printmaking, They do wānanga, you know, like they go to the marae and do wānanga. I remember the days when we used to put down hangi and teach them how to do hangi. Oh, the look on the people's faces, you know, the big smiles on their faces. They used to come into King Street Artworks depressed and they go out with a big smile on their doll. And that's what it's all about, eh?
Yep.
So, you know, does that carry on? You know, like...
Yeah, I don't know, you were talking.
Sorry.
You were talking, yeah. So ask me a question.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what kind of programs do you have now?
So yeah, as Darcy said, we have the kaupapa Māori side of King Street, which pretty much runs all the time. You can come in and have tuition in things Māori, whakairo, carving. We make Jenny Katani Morgan is our Māori art tutor, and we also have Leanne Taylor, who's another Māori art tutor there, and they will work with you individually to do things, ceramics, painting, bone carving, and sort of research all the kaupapa behind it. Which is awesome. We've carving, wood carving as well. Fridays we have a Women's Day program, so that's the same hours, 10 till 3, where women only come on a Friday and can do basically anything there as well. The whole range of things goes on. A lot of people say, why do we need a Women's Day? And my answer is twofold. One, we would have a men's day if we could. The men's shed is not very far away, and we have said to men when they've come with that idea, organise it, we'll go behind that 100%, but we haven't really had the numbers to warrant it. And my other answer is, when the world is an ideal place for women, we won't need that Friday Women's Day. So it's a day when some women feel more comfortable. They might start on a Friday and then carry on for the rest of the week. And then we have a Saturday program too, so we're 10 till 2 on a Saturday, where families can come, people who are working and might not otherwise be able to come. And then we run workshops all the time, so it's good to check our Facebook page, come in and see what the next workshop might be. Yeah.
So just elaborating here, what is the philosophy of King Street Artworks?
Basically, the philosophy is empowerment through art, and self-empowerment. So, for instance, if someone comes in the door, a lot of times, about 90% of people will come in, they'll be a little bit whakamā when they first come in, a little bit shy, and then they'll say to me, I don't really know how to make art, I don't really feel very creative. And I always say, well, you will, and it's in you. So it's kind of this thing that we've been feeling shut down, maybe we've been put off about making art, maybe it's not something we feel really comfortable to do. But it's not like us as the tutors giving things to people who, you know, who need the benefit of our wonderful artist experience. Yes, we've got experience, we've got tricks and tools, but basically what's so cool about it is it's all in the person already. It's something that they have that's so exciting, and we just get this wonderful job of helping them unravel it, like that ad where they, you know, the woman pulls something out of the couch and all this fantastic stuff comes out. That's what it's like. We're all creative beings, it's all in there, and all you need to do is get a little bit of a helping hand to discover it, and so it's so empowering for people. You know, they'll come in going, oh, I don't know if I can. Next minute, or in a matter of weeks, they're making extraordinary things, and it's very, very cool. Yeah, love it.
Awesome. I know that when I'm with a crowd of people, I get cold sweats. I start switching off in my head, and I want to find a little hole where I can creep into where no one can see me. I've always been like that. I don't know what it is. As soon as a crowd's around, it happens, and hey, I'm in my 60s now, but this was happening when I was in my 20s, and it was just the confidence of everyone else, and I just felt that I couldn't be that confident. I couldn't do what they do. So I withdraw into my own shell, and that really helped me in my artwork when I was discovered. I was given the chance by Ngāti Hiniwaka. They gave me that chance to go and be taught by people around the motu on how to do certain things Māori the traditional way. And the reason it worked for me was because it was a one-on-one. There was hardly anyone else, and when there was, by that time I was comfortable, and there was only about 4 or 5 of us, and we were all close family that did it. And that's how we rolled in Ngāti Hiniwaka. When I transferred that to King Street Artworks, it worked for me too, because they gave me my own space in the woodwork room where I could just be myself. And the way I did it was I encouraged people to just look at what I was doing, and they could see that I was trying to make it as simple as possible, and they weren't, I just kept encouraging them. They picked up a chisel, or they picked up anything, like piece of string, and started weaving it. And we just sat down and we just yarned, and they opened up. A lot of these people had been through hell as a kid, they've been abused and in many ways. So their mental health wasn't the best. And to tell you the truth, I thought in those days, and I still do in a way, that I'm actually one of those people. And so I could relate to them. In saying that, joining a bike riding group like Tribal Nations, who believed in manaakitanga, ko tahitanga, and self-empowerment through biking. Well, ours is, in those days was through the arts. So really I haven't really given up a chisel, it's still there, but now I jump on a Harley, and I feel empowered just by being with those same kind of people around me, and it's all about that manaakitanga. That's how it is at King Street Artworks, Linda?
Oh yeah, perhaps just touch on the way I arrived there, which was I was working at the Women's Centre and doing large sculptural pieces with people, which was also really empowering. So working with women at the Women's Centre particularly, a lot of the work that women do is kind of repetitive, and they might make a bed and then have to remake it the next day, or fill up the biscuit tins, baking and cooking, and the family eats it, and then they have to redo it again. And it was really cool to get women to make something enormous and very permanent, very heavy, out of concrete. And that's when I was working, when Kim Morton heard about the workshop we were running and came to see me, and she said, would you like to come over to King Street and have a look? And that was 20 years ago, and she said, would you like to run a concrete sculpture workshop at King Street? And I went, heck yeah, that would be fantastic. And I fell in love with King Street as soon as I got there, and started working part-time, and then gradually more and more days. Chrissy Lumsden and I, for a number of years, went round local marae doing an outreach program where we took art in our car and set up and spread out to people who were isolated, who couldn't get to King Street. And then we ended up settling on the Featherston Community Centre. Then our funding changed a bit, and that funding sort of morphed into our Saturday program. So yeah, my entry into King Street was making ginormous concrete sculptures, which I've then taken to local marae. There's a big heimata that made at Te Ori Marae, and the tuna at Piranoa Marae. So that was really cool. So I've had this history of large sculptures, and that was my entry into King Street, and never looked back. I absolutely love the philosophy of inclusion, so it's something that I think I wish was everywhere, So you don't have to be any particular person to just come in. You just have to make art, and it's really, really healthy, the community that we have there. So
I remember one of the things that attracted me to you was your mana wahine, your self-empowerment with women, and making sure that they're heard. And in those days, or even now, you know, like they take a second role to the men, where that's not you at all. You're exactly the opposite. And I remember we at King Street in those days, they decided because of that to start up a Women's Day, because of a woman that go in there that are not comfortable around men, that have issues when they were young. So they wanted a space by themselves. Can you talk more on that one?
Yeah, the women's only space was a very strong part of King Street in the beginning. It was part of the kaupapa from the very beginning, and it was because some mental health issues for women, to do with gender politics, to do with perhaps being in a violent relationship, to do with being in relationships where they are so incredibly disempowered, that to begin to remember who they are, where their edges are as a person, is something that they need a very safe environment to be in. And when the world's an ideal place, that may not be necessary, but it's not happening yet. So, yeah, mental health issues to do with gender politics can be to do with suffering mental abuse or physical abuse from a very early age. I would also say, of course, that can happen to men, absolutely, and of course, but the statistics far outweigh on the side of women suffering those. But a shout out to men, of course, to be part of something positive, and there is the men's shed, and of course men are welcome all the other days at King Street. Also just a shout out, just while I think of it, for tribal nations and for other motorcycle clubs that are similar. I was thinking in my head this sort of catchphrase: for every guy on a bike, there's often a family who supports him to be there, and a family member, a woman who may not be able to actually get on that bike or find the funding, you know, to be part of that motorcycle club. So that's something I also bring to the tribal nations. There are many women on bikes, and maybe for some of those women there's a man at home holding the baby. So just a shout out to the families who are really included in tribal nations as part of that whole equation. They are there and they are supporting the kaupapa, and may not be as visible and have the wonderful noisy, you know, motorcycle, but they are very definitely there with their strength and their mana. So yeah, just thought I'd tag that on.
Yeah, you know, like get your motor running. Yeah. Tribal nations, Hora Whenua, that's who I belong to. You might see up here, if you have just have a look over here, you have this manaia here, and he's got his little tongue hanging out, and his tongue's on the taiha. That means kōrero mai, you know, that it's non-violent. It means talk. And that's what we're all about. A lot of us are God-fearing folk. But yes, what Linda was saying, it's not just tribal nations out there. There's Ulysses, there's a lot of people out there. There's the Patriots, the Red Knights, and you know, I take my hat off to all of them, because they all come out in force for motorbike runs like cancer, the White Ribbon. We actually the Green Ribbon, RATS, Riders Against Teen Suicide. Yeah, so, you know, we're out there, we're doing our bit, and we raise quite a bit of money for people that are in need. In our case, I think it was last year, there was hundreds of bikes turned up at the farrier's car park when we held a Rats Riders Against Teen Suicide, and our main person there that who organised it was Tony Ryan with the help of Mark Shepherd. And forgive me if there was others there involved too, but those two names come to mind, and the really good organisers that doing that around the Wairarapa. Tony Ryan has gone through that tragic suicide thing, so we held one here, and she was our main woman for last year. Also a big shout out again to Donna Jones, another matriarch of ours in Tribal Nations, who lost her son Brandon. It's a tragic event, and no one wants it to happen in their family. So what's the prevention? A prevention is we can't, they're not going to listen to us, because it's one of those things that they feel deep inside, and whatever they're going to do, they're going to do it. But we can give them reasons why not to do it, and that's what it's all about. One of the youth that we were going to have on tonight, his name was Sydney. He's a youth advisor, and he talks about mental health for the youth of Wairarapa. He couldn't make it tonight, so hopefully we can get in later on, and Clint can interview him. But in the meantime, it's my wife and I talking about mental health and obviously we're writing for that, for King Street Artworks. With this, my wife's going to pick a song, and we're going to put it on. What would you like to hear, Linda?
So the next song is OMC and another favourite, and it's How Bizarre.
OMG.
Brother Bellas in the back, sweet singers in the front, cruising down the freeway in the hot, hot sun. Suddenly red blue lights flash us from behind. Loud voice booming, please step out onto the line. Ballet bridge words of comfort, Cena just hides her eyes. Policeman taps the shades, it's at a Chevy 69. How bizarre. How bizarre, how bizarre. Destination unknown as we're pulling for some gas. Officially placed a poster reveals a smile from the pack. Elephants and acrobats, lion, snakes, monkey. Billy speaks righteous, Sister Cena says funky. How bizarre. How bizarre, how bizarre.
Ooh baby, it's making me crazy. It's making me crazy. Every time I look around. Every time I look around.
Every time I look around.
Every time I look around. It's in my face.
Ringmaster stiffs up, says the elephants left town. People jump and jive and the clowns are stuck around. TV news and cameras, there's choppers in the sky. Marines, police, reporters ask where, for and why. Bella yells, we're out of here. Cena says right on. Making moves and starting grooves before they knew we were gone. Jumped into the Chevy, headed for big lights. Wanna know the rest? Hey, by the rights. How bizarre. How bizarre, how bizarre.
Ooh baby, it's making me crazy. It's making me crazy. Every time I look around. Every time I look around.
Every time I look around.
Every time I look around. It's in my face. It's in my face. Every time I look around, every time I look around,
Every time I look around,
every time I look around, it's in my face. Ooh baby, it's making me crazy, it's making me crazy. Every time I look around, every time I look around, every time I look around, it's in my face.
Kia ora. You're always on my mind. Okay, we're getting on now. First of all, a big shout out to Arrow FM for letting us do this, and it's costing us nothing. Hey, they're giving it to us because they feel that it's something that the community need. So a big shout out to Arrow FM 92.7. Thank you very much. Kia ora. Now we're going back to King Street Artworks, and what makes King Street special?
Actually, that's because I was just thinking we were saying thanks to Arrow FM and the crew, and one of the similarities between Arrow FM and King Street is actually what makes King Street work, which is the inclusive nature, and there's an inclusive nature of the Arrow FM program. So there's all sorts of people who come and broadcast and tell their stories and bring their kaupapa from their walk of life and their experience, and that happens here on Arrow FM. And we were just during the music break, which was actually how bizarre, we were talking about how wonderfully inclusive Arrow FM is, and that leads into the question, or the looking at what makes King Street work. So King Street's inclusive, and that means anyone can come, so anyone at all. You don't have to be struggling with some health and wellbeing challenges to come. You can just simply walk in the door and want to make art. And that's something that I'm really, really fond of, and I get a big surprise when I realise that apart from places like Arrow FM and maybe places like Tribal Nations, I realise that it's not really, really common to have an inclusive kaupapa, and I wish it was. I really wish there were more places, and I wonder if that's kind of a little bit to do with our mental health, is that we've all got quite compartmentalised and thinking, well, I can only go to that group or that place if I'm a certain way, or if I'm interested in a certain thing, or if I'm a certain cultural background, I can go to those things. And if we had more places that said, come along, come everybody, and then we just get a little bit more used to seeing someone as different and honouring it. So we go, well, you're not like me, but I like you, and let's have a conversation, let's go to coffee, let's make some artwork together, or let's ride motorbikes together. And yeah, that's what makes King Street works. So when you walk in, you're special straight away. A lot of people say to me, oh, it's all free, I feel a little bit shy because it's all free, how can this relate to me, and what can I give back? People are so cool, they always just want to give back. And I say to them, well, as soon as you walk in the door, we've got no one else your shape, no one else who sounds like you, no one else from your particular cultural background, and so you're a taonga or a treasure as soon as you walk in the door. And people get a surprise. It's that easy. You just have to come in and be yourself, and you're special, and you're contributing, and you're part of a beautiful community. So that's what makes it work. The inclusive nature, the loving community, and the fact that people are really honourable, people are really loving and really kind, and that's what makes it work, as well as the art and the fabulousness and the quirkiness.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, you know, like even now I can walk into King Street and everyone will look around and greet me. And I think, you know, there's not another place here in the Wairarapa that can do that. Apart from across the road at the
Te Pā Tuki Tuki.
Te Pā Tuki Tuki,
Yeah.
which is run by Jade, and is it Jade?
Yeah,
Jade-
it's Jade. And I think they've got a committee that and so they run kaupapa Māori programs. So check it out. Yeah, go along, walk in the door, look in the window, check them out. They're actually in our whole little artistic precinct. There's Te Pā Tuki Tuki, a little bit close to there, sort of to one side, and back a bit is con art. It's very brightly coloured. You'll notice it straight away, and that's where anybody and everyone can put their artwork, and it's for sale. Behind them is Aratoi Art and Museum, History Museum, which has been going for many years, just celebrated their 50-year anniversary, and they're really cool. And then there's King Street Artworks and the bowling alley and the dive shop. So there's this, and the noodle shop. So there's this wonderful little precinct of things for people. And yeah, certainly Te Pā Tuki Tuki are a very valued part of that with their kaupapa Māori program. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I like about that hub is just across the road, within a spitting distance, is New World. So if you get hungry, you're right there.
It's very hungry, being fabulous.
Yes. So yeah, it's quite an exciting little place, is the hub, and the hub is in all those places all around there all together. And the bowling alley itself, people go from King Street into the bowling alley or vice versa. They walk across the road into Te Pā Tuki Tuki, or they can go into con art. And if you have a look in there are a lot of containers that have people's art for sale. And if you also, there's this big wall mural that Linda did of two sperm whales and this young lady painting it, and just around that is two of these fellas on their skateboards out in a sea setting, and the whole place just looks great. So if you're doing nothing, come along to King Street Artworks and be creative, because it doesn't cost you anything. You sign in and they have a pottery area, they have a woodwork area, they have a place where you can just sit and play a guitar if you want, or you can play on the computers. You can paint, acrylic painting.
Actually, I'll just do a shout out. Sorry, Darcy, to interrupt, but coming up, starting on the 14th of October, we have Māori Art Week. We run our Māori art program all the time, of course, like our other programs, but we're focusing and specialising on things kaupapa Māori for that week. And there'll be kauauos being made, there'll be hui or gourds being carved, there'd be printmaking and etching, which in itself isn't kaupapa Māori, but we'll be looking at symbols and identity, whakapapa, and how we view ourselves, and using those in print. It's tying up also with Kokomai Festival, which focusing on the feather and flight. So yeah, that's going to be an exciting week. There'll be kai at lunchtime every day as part of the Kaupapa Māori week, and there'll be te reo, there'll be Jonas, who is a local musician, who will be doing a spot there as well, and all sorts of fabulous things. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that because it's coming up quite soon. Yeah.
And I know when you go to these wānanga and courses that have been held, that a lot of food is in the making, and so you can you go out there and you do all these things, and then they have a break and they go into another room there, and the food is all laid out. Bon appetit. So now we're gonna. I'm just gonna put another song on, but before I do, I just want to let you know, this I put this from YouTube onto my Facebook. Anyone can do that. They just go into YouTube,
Wairarapa TV.
Wairarapa TV, and from there they can share this. And you just turn the volume up on your phone and just leave it to the side and carry on what you're doing, and just listen to us in the background. That way you don't have to see my munchkin face all the time. I don't mind my wife; she's prettier than I am. Just to before I do that again, I'm going to say it. We have numbers here, okay, and I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see. But these numbers are helplines, and so I'm just going to go with it. I'll do it slowly, so use that listening may want to write it down. So we have Lifeline, okay, Lifeline 0800 543 345. That's 0800 543 354. Did I say that right the first time?
45?
543 354. Sorry, I said it wrong the first time. Depression helpline from 8 a.m. to midnight is 0800 111 757. That's depression helpline. Health line 0800 611 116. You even get a kids line, okay, it's aimed at children from 14 years to 18 years, okay, it's 0800 kids line or 0800 543754. Samaritans 0800 726 666. For callers from the Lower North Island, Christchurch and West Coast, or 0800 211 211 for callers from all other regions. Okay, we come to the big one, the Suicide Crisis Helpline, okay, aimed at those in distress or those who are concerned about the well-being of someone else, noon to midnight, 0508 828 865, okay, or 0508 tautoko, right? Suicide prevention information, www.mentalhealth.org.nz. Youth line is 0800 376 633 or free text 234. You can also email talk@youthline.co.nz. What's up for 5 to 18 year olds, 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. is 0800 942 8787. Okay, and depression helpline, just go to depression.org.nz. All right, depression helpline for young Kiwis, the lowdown.co.nz.
Could I just jump in there too,
Yes.
Darth? Yeah, just thinking, because one thing that we do a little bit at King Street, and I'm just thinking if you are worried about someone and you feel like they're very down, and you want to help, it's great to have call lines, because it could be that they're on their own, but if you want to, we found one really good thing to do is AFI people, or to say, I'll walk with you to CAMS, to the child adult mental health service, or I'll walk with you to the doctor, or I'll come with you. You know, I can come to the waiting room, I can sit there with you, I can come in, and just offer you, just support you to find someone to talk to maybe find something that'll make you feel better for that short period of time when you're so down you can't do it for yourself. So that is something that I found you can suggest to people if they're worried. So, and it works. So if you say, look, I'll just come with you, I'll sit with you in the waiting room, it's just having that physical presence of someone who is feeling stronger than your person who's feeling really down. You are feeling like you have the strength to guide them to that place where they'll get someone to talk to on a longer term basis, or they'll get some intervention of another sort, or they'll basically be able to surf that period of time when they just can't do it. They just can't scrape it all together and feel good about themselves. So walk with them, be there, take their hand, and yeah, that was just something I wanted to put out there, Das. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Linda. So, Tiki Tāne, always on my mind. Maybe not.
But you are always on our minds. It's
Yes.
just the music isn't playing.
I think I buggered that up. So we're not going to play that one. And we've only got 10 minutes. So this thing's always going to be on my mind because I'm never going to get it right because it's just not me. My hands are made for creativeness. It's not made for this. But I'm learning. It's just that I'm just, what do you call it? Just useless.
It's only a track. You only missed a
It's
track.
only a track. Okay. Always on my
It's not
mind,
the end
yeah.
of the world.
Okay. Our DJ next week is Clint Thompson. He's a Parks and Recreation Manager for Carterton, but he's also our kaitiaki for Tribal Nations, Hora Whenua. We have these different roles that we play in our motorcycle group, and one of them is our kaitiaki, Clint, who just keeps everyone in line and makes sure that everything's going the way it should do. So he's got a great kaupapa and he's good at his job. And you'll know just by listening to him if you tune in next week or if you look back in our programs just how good he is as a DJ too. Him and his wife Shah are a real asset to Tribal Nations. So I'd just like to put that out there and a big salute to those two couples. And we also have what we call an ambassador, two ambassadors, one senior and one level with him, but just coming up the ranks. And the first one is Gordon Gregory. He's our ambassador. He does a marvellous job. He lives in Martin, and we have our club rooms in Levin. The other one is Trevor Pōwhari. He lives in Levin, and he's our other ambassador. So we have two ambassadors, and we have a kaitiaki, we have a treasurer, and we have a secretary. And we're just like any other organisation. We're a charitable trust, and if you have a look at Tribal Nations as a whole, go onto tribalnations.org. And you'll see that we're just a small part, Hora Whenua Tribal Nations, of a big group all around the motu. We have Te Turu, we have right up into Dunedin, we have our main base, which is Waikato, and we have on our vest here, we have Waikato Tribal Nations, Aotearoa. We have over here, I think you can see it. I'll just stand up. Yeah, slowly. There we go. Waikato. Okay. Why do we have Waikato on our vest? It's because they're our mothership. All right. It started somewhere. It started way up there. And so they're our mothership. And what I'd like to do now is pass you on to Linda. And she's just going to have a quick talk to you about King Street Artworks and funding, who the funders are.
Cool. Thanks, Das. And I'm just also saying, as I am part of Tribal Nations as well, there's quite a few couples and families involved, which is what I like about it. And so where I might get on a certain percentage of the rides, I'm not always on them because I might be busy with our kids, and there's a lot of families. So as I was saying before, for every person on a bike, there's a family at home or a family supporting that kaupapa, and it's a family affair. Our King Street funding, and I'd just like to say a shout out to those who are going on this run on Labour weekend to support King Street, that it'll be something that we can do that's over and above our normal program, our normal kind of daily program. So we might be able to do something like go on a coach trip to the coast or run a specialised program, perhaps focusing on youth, but it'll be something that we do over and above our normal program at King Street. So that's going to be very, very much appreciated. So the funding side, we're mainly funded by our local DHB, which is very visionary on their part. We're seen as preemptive, saving crises before they happen, and so a large part of our funding is from the local DHB. Then we have local funders. We apply for all the local funding that we can, and they're wonderfully supportive. So yeah, King Street Artworks is supported basically by you guys in our community and all the local funding bodies that we apply to. So yeah, thank you. Thanks, Darth.
Okay, right. So just to wrap up again, on the 27th of October, write that down. If you own a bike and you like riding in a group, a control group, we have traffic controllers. Our traffic controller is Mark Rukua, and he makes sure that everyone does the right thing, so it's a safe ride. We're pretty good at that, like making sure that everyone gets from A to B safely. We register in Featherston is $20 for registration, and all that money goes to King Street Artworks. And we start in Featherston, I think it's about 10 o'clock. We've got to be there. 9 o'clock is a good time to come. It's going to be crowded, and from there we do a bike ride through the towns, through Martinborough, Greytown, Carterton, and we end up in Masterton at the farriers, where there will be a hangi, there will be food, finger foods, there will be spot prizes,
Yeah.
and you'll just have a good time. So even if you don't have a bike, make sure you're there about 12 o'clock onwards. Okay, we've got 3 minutes. The hangi will be made, all the money, the people that are making it, okay, actually the nomads from Masterton, and they're doing a beautiful community project themselves at Colombo Park. Can you remember the park up there? It's you'll hear more of that as we go on, but they're doing a beautiful hangi, and they're donating all the hangi that are sold. They're donating all the money to King Street Artworks. So take my hat off to them. And I'd like to thank people like Kiwi Magic. Thank you, Kiwi, for donating money for the project. Also, Mitre 10 are playing a big role. They're offering us trucks and spot prizes, and also their barbecue trailer. So listen, anyone that can sponsor us, please do. It's going to a good cause. It's going to a community that belongs to the Wairarapa. It's been going for over 20 years. Like they talk about well-being. Well, well-being's been here for 20-odd years. And it just didn't happen because the government said we're going to do something about well-being this year. So there you go, eh? We've been, we're trendsetters here. And
we want to be there for many more.
Yes. For sure.
Yeah,
we want to be there for many more.
For sure.
Like you can't go past the fact that 200 people can't be wrong if that's registered with King Street Artworks. And so, please, if you want to come and be a part of it, 12 o'clock, 27th of October, or if you've got a bike, we'll see you in Featherston about 9 o'clock onwards to register and come for the ride. Okay? It's 5:59 now, so I'm going to say goodbye. What about you, Linda? Are you going to say goodbye, or you want to hang around?
I'd like to say goodbye and thanks very much, and thanks for putting up with our little idiosyncrasies, but we really wanted to get the word out there, so it's been pretty fun to stand in for Clint, and we'll catch you later.
Yes, so again, you'll probably see me before, like the 27th of October, only if Clint's got something else to do, but hopefully I'll be a bit better then. So at 6 o'clock, I'm signing out. Ka kite anō, people.
You're listening to Arrow FM 92.7, your community access radio station. Join Mark Davis every Friday afternoon at 12:30 on his Road to Recovery and Freedom. The Road to Recovery and Freedom is part of Mark's personal journey through mental illness and tracks his travels around New Zealand and various parts of the world. Each week, Mark features a story he's written about his travels and the thoughts they have provoked. That's the Road to Recovery and Freedom on Arrow FM 92.7 on Fridays at 12:30 in the afternoon.
We'll be fine, 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 we'll be fine.
You're gone. I found your number. You return my call.
This that music that you drive to, you vibe to, on the daily what you shine to, you strive to, on the daily live your life to, survive to, on the daily, play the game like it's my last Chuck Daily. We ain't hearing what they saying, we just keep the music playing on the daily. Play the game like it's my last Chuck Daily. We ain't doing what they doing, we just keep the wheels moving on the daily. Play the game like it's my last Chuck Daily. Surfing on a higher plane, I wear the coat like it's custom made, ain't nothing changed. We still adapting to another day, no other way. Just be yourself until you come of age. We saw the walls touch the sky, but we were unafraid. Casablanca, me casa, su casa. We done built this shit ourselves, that's why we doing what we wanna. It's a vicious cycle. I pray for peace for all my rivals. We rewrote the rules and found success with all this rhyming. Hope they understand that we here. I ain't holding back for nobody, working hard for all that we wanted. Plus we turn it up and we party, huh? Turn it down for what? We enjoying it while we got it. Cause today is all we have and tomorrow ain't an option. Feeling motivated like Chuck Daly and the dream team. So go and pour me some more. This ain't complicated at all. It's as simple as it can be. Keep on going till we are gone. Put that pedal down to the floor. Yeah, you know we got that music that you drive to, you vibe to, on the daily what you shine to, you strive to, on the daily live your life to, survive to, on the daily, play the game like it's my last Chuck Daily. We ain't hearing what they saying, we just keep the music playing on the daily. Play the game like it's my last Chuck Daily. We ain't doing what they doing, we just keep the wheels moving on the daily. Play the game like it's my last Chuck Daily.
Back on the pavement, it's the unadulterated sadist mind who paid to find to be the underrated greatest save. The frivolous talk for all the slack jaws. I'll be giving them all that total rap show. What you rap for? To get a little fame in your town, chunk change in your pocket. You ain't f***ing with the profit. Get it poppin' like when Rodman ran the game with rebounds. Like when Jordan tried to score up in the lane, I beat him down. Bad boy shit. Chuck Daly or Biggie, you can choose it. All I know is I just bring back all that feeling in my music. Cruising down the street, it's New Zealand's most elitist. On guard mode, no one in the game should try to beat us. So heinous with the flow, hit your dome, intravenous. You say that girl stuck up, but round us, she's the keenest, bro. I got the keys, they need to unlock all the codes. Raise the B's, a PNC back on the scene, we in the zone.
Music that you drive to, you vibe to, on the daily what you shine to, you strive to, on the daily live your life to, survive to, on the daily, play the game like it's my last Chuck Daily. We ain't hearing what they saying, we just keep the music playing on the daily. Play the game like it's my last Chuck Daily. We ain't doing what they doing, we just keep the wheels moving on the daily. Play the game like it's my last Chuck Daily. Music that you drive to, you vibe to, on the daily what you shine to, you strive to, on the daily live your life to, survive to, on the daily, play the game like it's my last Chuck Daily. Play the game like it's my last Chuck Daily. Play the game like it's my last Chuck Daily.
Somebody help me. A witness is never safe until he has testified. Oh, anybody with a reason can walk into this place and leave it bleeding. Oh, somebody help me. The witness is never safe until he has testified. Oh, anybody with a reason can walk into his house and leave him bleeding. fight. Oh, anybody with a reason. Walk into his house and leave him bleeding. If you have a complaint about anything broadcast on this radio station, please contact the manager on 378 0255 and your complaint will be investigated appropriately. We are happy to provide a copy of the formal complaints procedure issued by the Broadcasting Standards Authority. If you feel that broadcasting standards have been seriously breached, formal complaints may be addressed in writing to the manager, Arrow FM, Queen Street, Masterton. Please ensure that your complaint is lodged within 20 working days of the broadcast. If you wish to take your complaint further, you may contact the Broadcasting Standards Authority and we will help you to do so. Arrow FM is committed to the highest standards of community broadcasting and welcomes your input.
license, and I see you out my window, getting out your at my door. Why do you have to listen? And this house is made of ice and sin. All I reach to avoid me on the marble floor. Why do you have to listen? And this house is made of ice and sin. I see you out my window, getting out your at my door. Why do you have to listen? And this house is made of ice and sin. All I reach to avoid me on the marble floor.
There's no need to perpetrate the myth of manliness with your greed. As you pray, I can build a wall of fortitude in your way. And I won't dig the grave of those who need to learn new rules. So you can tuck your tie between your legs, 'cause I'll say I'll be the one that's judge and jury. I'll be the one you need and just see. I'll be the one that carries a key. Gonna give you all I need, now I'm giving all I need, yeah. I'll be the one that's judge and jury. I'll be the one you need and just see. I'll be the one that carries a key. Gonna give you all I need, it's a thing about a bleed, yeah. History, there's something to be said for it, the disparity. As we play, we're shaping the society in a subtle way. And I will fry the flesh unless your legacy. I'll be the one that's judge and jury. I'll be the one you need and just see. I'll be the one that carries a key. Gonna give you what I need, it's a thing about a bleed, yeah. I'll be the one that's judge and jury. I'll be the one you need and just see. I'll be the one that carries a key. Gonna give you what I need, and I'll give it all I need, yeah. Judge and jury, I'll be the one you need and to see. I'll be the one that carries a key. Gonna give you what I need, it's a dignified I bleed, yeah. I'll be the one that's judge and jury. I'll be the one you need and to see. I'll be the one that carries a key. Gonna give you what I need, now I'll give it all I need, yeah. I'll be the one that's judge and jury. I'll be the one you need and to see. I'll be the one that carries a key. Gonna give you what I need, it's a dignified I bleed, yeah. I'll be the one that's judge and jury. I'll be the one you need and to see. I'll be the one that carries a key. Gonna give you what I need, now I'll give it all I need, yeah. I'll be the one.
Arrow FM would like to say thanks to the Eastern and Central Community Trust for their continued support.
pleasure? Could this be a moment gone? Or could this be the start of forever? You're more than just a hookup girl to me. The prospect of our love's got me so excited. You're more than just a hookup girl to me. Have never felt before, but I can't even try to deny it. Hookup girl, not just a hookup girl, hookup girl.
I'm hanging with my girls, but I'm just tired of the same old scene. Trying to make myself forget that this was real, or was it all a dream? And I've been waiting for the longest time, but now I think I might be losing my mind. My favorite obsession that I can't deny. So baby, there's no way we can let this slip by.
Now we're all alone, so close to pleasure. Could this be a moment gone? Or could this be the start of forever? You're more than just a hookup girl to me. The prospect of our love's got me so excited. You're more than just a hookup girl to me. Have never felt before, but I can't even try to deny it. Hookup girl, not just a hookup girl, not just a hookup girl, not just a hookup girl. Could this be a moment gone? Or could this be the start of forever? You're more than just a hookup girl to me. The prospect of our love's got me so excited. You're more than just a hookup girl to me. Have never felt before, but I can't even try to deny it. Hookup girl, not just a hookup girl, not just a hookup girl, not just a hookup girl, Don't wanna be a hookup girl. I'm more than just a hookup girl. No, not just a hookup girl. No, not just a hookup girl.
If you've just joined us, you're listening to Arrow FM 92.7, your community access radio station.
A union man impressed with my limited marks in a Gisborne garden, getting dark. The dog came home from wandering. She went straight to the place she'd been tied up for wandering. It's embarrassing, spirit twisted like that. But we laughed, yeah, she was so proud to be back. The place she'd be tied up for wandering. cold country with hot sun.
Old country for a little while.
You my Yoko Ono. Anyway, that we stay up late. You my Yoko Ono. Betting in through the thick and thin. You my Yoko Ono. Sleep away all yesterdays. You my Yoko Ono. You my Yoko Ono. Let me see how far your love goes. You my Yoko Ono. Across the sea is where my heart goes. You and me, happy families. You my Yoko Ono. Me and you counting down to 2. You my Yoko Ono. Feel the weight of your loving hand resting on my shoulder. Side by side like metal spoons as we roll up over. Even into the sheets we're in, feeling much colder. Say goodbye to our light balloons as we grow on older. You my Yoko Ono. Let me see how far your love goes. You my Yoko Ono. Across the sea is where my heart goes. You and me, happy families. You my Yoko Ono. Me and you counting down to 2. You my Yoko Ono. You and me and love we'll see. You and me and love we'll see.